Part 3, My Experience with Agnostics. I have to give agnostics credit in that they don't need a religion to unify. So, it's been my experience they're least likely to be racist or to be overly judgmental. But that second part has a very fine line because they're probably also the quickest just to say no when when people just want to understand why agnosticism is just like religion in that we all when we feel strongly about it we defend it and no is powerful in that we want we in this context in that we want to end the topic right there. That's a detriment because again, just as religions can be wrong, so can not having a religion. And not necessarily having God control your life is all that important because that pisses on the idea of a little thing called free will. The Bible says we have free will, the Kabbalah says we have free will, the Talmud, the Quran, every religious document aside from having the golden rule states we have free will. That's why in many religions humans have a tendency to piss off their gods or God. The thing is, they're also too quick to form a barrier. Now, I admit I'm a needlessly complex man. Needlessly. The quicker, if someone wants to get amicable with me, I'm probably going to push them away. I'm a very distant person. And I know that the good and the bad that can bring. Because most theists with any common sense, they don't care what religion you are. And it's not so much as to get into heaven as it is just to do the good deed, to do the good deed. And atheists have a pride that I've noticed in that just like theists, and in many ways worse than theists, I can do it by myself. I don't need your help or any God's help. You may not necessarily need God's help or a God's help, but we all live in this world, and I hate to break it to you, but at one point or another, we're all going to need help. We need help as children to understand our world. We need help as adults to not get fucked up by this world, to not allow ourselves to be jaded. And we need help in many ways as adults and seniors to teach our kids right. And not necessarily our kids, but to teach right in general, with or without a religion. It's a brutal truth we all have to accept. I don't give a fuck if you're Penn Jillette or any other famous atheist. Oh, and on a note, Richard Dawkins can kiss my ass. And this is why a lot of atheists are atheists just to piss other people off. And that's just fucking stupid. Don't say, hey, let's talk, and then shit on everything. You can have all the bitch list you want, That doesn't necessarily mean you're right or that you've been wronged. Also, the thing is with atheists is that it's good to be your own person. It's good to have free will. But don't you don't have to make a scene. And not just and this is everyone. You don't have to make a scene or a big rant. Part of the reason why I'm doing this video is to make people understand that like in Plato's Apologia, Socrates says, I don't believe in a God, but I am open to any religious experience if it should ever come my way. More or less. I'm not sure if it was the Apologia or something else, or another book that Plato wrote. And that's the thing. Both sides cannot close themselves to the other. And granted, I don't have as much of a beef against agnostics, but in many ways, sometimes they are just as extreme as theists. But they tend to approach it in just as many negative ways, but they don't see that. Agnostics tend not to see how similar they are to theists. And then you don't have to be a racist to be a bigot. Richard Dawkins, in many ways, is a bigot. Penn Jillette is someone I would like to talk to, because at least he would hear you out. Richard Dawkins does not seem to. However, now this is a great big fuck you to Penn Jillette. In one of his pen points, he says that agnosticism is a coward's way out because at least in theism and atheism, you take a stand for something. You're not in the middle. And granted, there's an old Greek saying that says, he who is neutral has no friends. Why? Because most people want you to pick a side. And agnosticism there is an issue in that if people want if there's something since people want things to be settled, people want order, people want control. And let's say there's a group of theists and an even group of atheists. I come along, my views are asked, and I say, well, I'm agnostic. It's basically saying that I can't help either of you sort this difference out. Which I know is bad. I mean, that is a downside of agnosticism. And neutrality in general. But, however, I'm the kind of person that I will give you reasons for and against each side. So hopefully people make, not necessarily, it's not about making a smart choice, it's about making the tolerant choice. And as an agnostic, that's what I care about. Tolerance. And part of it is because of how I grew up. I'm of mixed races. I look white because the largest sides of my family are white. Spaniards, Germans, Scotch, Scotsmen, Scottish. Let's just say that. And a slew of others. But I also have, but when you run the numbers, there are more, even though there are smaller sides of the family that are medium to darker toned. Be they Mexicans, which includes mestizos, part Indians, Indios, that's self-explanatory, and mulattoes, part black. And that's culturally helped define me religiously. Because I see the little things that you might think they're unimportant, but when it comes to a person's personality, those little things affect. We all affect and we all afflict. That's one of the brutal sides of human nature, with and without religion. Now, the thing is, agnosticism has its advantages in that it's better to have a third party who's neutral to solve certain issues, especially when religion and anti-religion mix into politics. And in both cases, those extremes are disastrous. As much fun as it was to bitch and moan, I'd love to hear your opinions, and maybe even your bitching. Hasta luego. Subscribe if you like. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Hasta luego. I've said my piece.